Please welcome our guests, Chad and Ashley Taylor, owners of Pisgah Home Inspections, to discuss the common stressors regarding a home inspection so our listeners can enjoy a less stressful home buying and selling experience.
Did you know that anything to do with real estate, we're talking renting, buying, selling, you name it, is always in the top 10 stressors of the human experience? Your host, Brad Whitesell, has been in the real estate business in North Carolina for over 25 years. He's been doing appraisals, buying, selling, and property management, and much more. He certainly can attest to how stressful this work is, not only for people in the industry, but for you, the consumer. This podcast is on Mental Health News Radio Network, and he'll be offering tips, tricks of the trade, but also mental health professionals and advocates to help make this all-important journey easier and more peaceful to navigate. Sit back, enjoy, and tune in. Welcome to Peak Dwellings. Hi, everybody. Kristen Walker here. I'm going to turn it over to my co-host because he gets the great pleasure in having people on that he has worked with for a long time and has a really great working relationship. So Brad Whitesell, I turn this one over to you.
Wow. Thank you, Kristen. I appreciate it. I'm glad to be here today to chat with my good friend and respected peer, Chad Taylor of Pisgah Home Inspections in Asheville, and his tag team partner, his wife, Ashley. Thanks for coming on, guys.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks, Brad.
Yeah, glad to have you guys. I think we've been working together for about 7 years.
I think
if I recall correctly. And I actually kind of met you on the opposite side of how we usually collaborate. I actually had a listing for a builder, client of mine, on an older house that he had done a complete remodel on. We had the property under contract, and the buyer and their agent had called you to do the home inspection. And so I was there with my client and Harry, and we chatted with you, and I was like, I really like this guy. He's not trying to prove a point, and he knows what he's talking about, and he interacts. And so there we go. I've been using you ever since.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. So Chad, I'm going to turn it over to you. Tell us a little bit about your background and just, the short path of how you got to become a home inspector.
How I become a home inspector? Well, I had been in construction, specifically custom carpentry and building custom homes. I worked with a couple of builders. I'm from Alabama, from Montgomery, Alabama. And so I worked with one builder, an architect named Bobby McAlpine, and his builder, Beale. So I got to build, to work on these homes, huge houses that took 2 years to complete. And I was there from groundbreaking to putting knobs on the cabinets and closing out the house and handing the keys over to the client. I probably did 6 big monster houses like that. Other than that, I've done a lot of custom carpentry and trim work and that kind of thing in these custom, homes where it takes, 6 months to trim a house or something like that. And then the market crashed 2008. And so I dabbled in some more construction. Then I got in, I'm a mountain biker. I've been racing mountain bikes since I was 21. So a long time. And so I've always loved mountain biking, and I got into managing a bicycle shop of all things, and did that for the longest time. And then we moved up here to Asheville, and the money isn't all that great in bicycle repairs and running a bike shop. And so that kind of me going into a brick and mortar every day gets old for me. And so I have to do something different every day. And home inspections just I've felt really like that's the next step for me. I don't have to do all the manual labor, and I can still be in homes in different places every day and something new, and try to help people with all the experience that I have picked up, help them, pick a good home. So that's how I'm
So your
here.
path was simply more than, hey, I think I'd like to be a home inspector. I mean, you really
Yeah.
had the on the ground experience with
Yeah.
construction and a lot of the detail stuff
Yeah.
that just the average consumer probably doesn't realize
Right.
that you
And
deal
working
with.
with all the trades, I've worked with all the trades. I've seen anywhere from some of the first thermal HVAC systems go in 25 years ago,
Yeah.
to, set huge septic systems being put in place, to, having 3 cranes on a job, helping put, a roof on. So I've done, all kind of stuff, worked with all the trades and seen how it all works. So maybe that's a inside as well. I think,
Well, that's good to know because I think that there's a lot of inspectors out there like yourself that turned their career from builders into a home inspection business.
yeah.
But there's also a lot of them out there that probably don't have the on the ground experience that you do.
Yeah, we've been through a few trying to grow Pisgah Home Inspections. We've had a few that have, that's ghosts that have shadowed me and got their license and done the whole process, and they're not picking up. They couldn't pick up on it. So, and they have no construction background, and it's not necessarily, and you can, 100% be a home inspector, not construction, but man, it sure does help a lot. It sure does. So,
It means a lot to me. I mean,
yeah,
I'm an appraiser turned real estate agent, and I think
yeah,
that means a lot to people. And
yeah,
a builder turned home inspector is nothing but a good thing as far as I'm concerned. So I want to kind of switch gears here. Uh, Prior to the recording of this show, we talked about it. Kristen and I talked about it that once you go under contract, I mean, this is a real estate and mental health show, right?
right.
Once you go under contract on a house, there's probably nothing more stressful than going through the inspection process for both buyers and sellers because you know buyers might overreact to a list of items that you're showing on a
Mhm.
house, and sellers might think that you're attacking their house or nitpicking everything. And um, can you talk about you know just common sense things that consumers can use as far as putting themselves at ease, knowing that a home inspector is getting ready to come into their house?
Yeah. So as far as that a lot of people always say, "Did my house pass or did my house fail?" And so we're not. This isn't a test, and you're not. Well, I'm not grading your
You
house.
answer yes, right?
Yeah, I do. Yes, you failed. No, all I tell the homeowner if they're there, and a lot of times the homeowner is there and they're really concerned about what I'm doing, walking through their house and all this stuff. And I just tell them that, I'm just looking for, some defect that might, that my client might not be aware of. Most of the times I don't speak to the homeowner, but Ashley is the one who she communicates with the client and the homeowner, um, before and after I do my thing. A lot of times, even more than me, because a lot of times the client won't even show up. And then, the day of the inspection, everything generally goes pretty good unless there's something major going on. And then, so this is where my stress comes in, is when I'm doing a home inspection and I expect the client to show up, about an hour and a half later, and everything's rolling good. And then, like, an hour and 15 minutes into it, I find something that I was not expecting. And that kind of stresses me out. And then, like, man, everything was going great. And then, and then I have to analyze what the problem is myself. And then I have to, because even foundation problems at the end of the day, it can all be repaired. And I'm trying not to scare the living crap out of somebody over a little bitty, stress crack or something like that, that it might look big and scary, but it's not. So kind of try to talk people off the ledge of, hey, it'll be okay. So, but
Yeah, I mean,
Ashley talks to a lot the other end, and she, she gets the angry calls if I've missed something, or which is very rare. But she gets the ones that are very happy. She gets, like, a lot of people don't realize that there's other parts to a home inspection that they may or may not need. Because a lot of, like, not like you, but a lot of real estate agents don't necessarily tell their clients, hey, you might also need a a septic inspection, or that well inspected if it's a shared well or something. But, so that's where she.
Yeah, and then let's bring Ashley into the conversation here, because one thing that's very unique about you guys is that I call it one-stop shopping for real estate agents. In that, Chad, you do home inspections, you do radon testing, you do water testing. That's among the services that you provide, but you also act as sort of like a middleman, so to speak, for other services that you may not directly do, but actually helps coordinate all of these things, which is huge for me as an agent, and that I can just say, hey, I need these 7 things, and you guys are going to take care of all of it.
Yeah. And you hear all the I didn't know I had a septic, or I didn't know I needed a septic inspection. And they'll probably, the client will, like, panic and, like, oh my God, what do I do? I didn't even know I had a septic inspection or a septic tank. That comes up a lot.
Yeah, tell us, Ashley, about that.
Yeah, so we do. I'm the one that schedules everything, and I do have a whole list of companies that we work with. I have some agents that prefer to work with this company and some that prefer to work with any company but this one. So I have a list, and they tell me who they do and do not want to work with. But if they like them all, then once my clients have a good experience with a company, we usually keep them on until there's a reason not to. That way, if somebody needs a septic inspection in 3 days, I can usually make it happen. When they're normally scheduling out a week or a week and a half or 2 weeks out, there are companies that I can get to come in a few days if there's a tight timeline, because I do work with them closely. And being a real estate agent myself, I know how much work they already do. So anything that we can do to shorten that time a little bit and help y'all out, we are there, and we're going to do it.
Yeah, and consumers that are under contract to buy a house, if you have not had a conversation with your real estate agent regarding the services that you're going to need during your due diligence period, you need to have that conversation. It's vital. It's actually part of our fiduciary responsibility as agents. It's really, if you don't do it, you potentially open yourself up for big problems on the back end. So that's really an important thing for just people to have that conversation to determine what services you're going to require during the home, during the due diligence period where you have home inspections and other things.
Yeah.
And the agents that we work with frequently, they all do that. They all sit down with their clients, they talk. But I have some clients that call me that don't remember their agent's name. And I'm like, okay, do you have a septic? Do you have a well? They're like, we have no clue. Do we need to know that? And I'm like, what's the address? I'll go ahead and look it up, and I'll look it up, and I'll say it does have a septic and a well. And they'll say, oh my gosh, do I need those inspections? And I say, I think if you're buying this house, you should get everything you can get inspected, unless they have paperwork that they've recently had it inspected. Because if not, there's been clients that didn't want to pay the $775 for a septic inspection and a pump, and they move in and they find out that there's a hole in the septic tank and it's flooding into the ground. And now not only do they have to replace it, but now it's not grandfathered in and it's too close to the house. So now it has to be totally moved. It's just, worst case scenarios have happened that I've seen unfold because someone did not get the inspection.
Yeah. And look, we'll just say hypothetically, $500 is what the average cost for the home inspection. If you tack on water testing and septic and pest inspection and non-lender type things, you're talking maybe $1,000 to $1,500. And as I like to say, a $1,500 mistake is better than a $500,000 mistake.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep. Especially when those septic systems are crazy. So
Yeah, I
horrible.
see a common theme here, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, I can see how that's super stressful for a potential, especially like a first time home buyer. And I would say a first time home buyer in our market, because I would think a first time home buyer would have a limited income or a limited budget for a
Yes.
house. And so, as you know, the houses probably at that budget probably aren't in
Yeah,
the
they
tip
spend
top
whatever
shape.
little resources they have just getting into the property.
Right. And so that's, yeah, exactly. And so when you want, and when you say, well, it's going to be $1,500 to inspect all this stuff, I can imagine how stressful that is and how hard it is on y'all to let them know that how important it is and what could happen if something does go south when you move in. So yeah, there's a lot to it.
So finding the balance between making a consumer aware and freaking them out.
Yes.
What's your best advice for Joe home buyer, first time home buyer? You're going under contract. You're really finally taking the leap after a couple of months of looking for property. What's the best advice you can give to that consumer?
First off, that if they found a house that they really love and they feel that that's their house, that negotiations are always possible. If there's a defect in the house that is major, that down the road could cost a lot of money, that they can, always negotiate that price, and that let's just say $1,500 up front, like you said earlier, would save them if the septic had a hole in it and they had to move it. It was a 1955 house, then that's 20 plus $1,000 right there. I can, for a new septic system, like the host said, with a house that's been sitting there for 3 or 4 years, it's going to have, it's going to have some issues. It's worth the money to pay all those inspection fees than just say, oh, I'm handy, I could probably take care of that. Or I have a friend that's a contractor or construction worker. Because what I see a lot of times is what I put in the home inspection, if I go back and redo the house, like if it comes up for sale again, most of the times, most people don't do anything anyway. They just live in the house. And so that being the stress of paying up front, all the stuff and thinking, well, they're just looking at, what are they really doing? But and especially when it comes back kind of clean, out. But
Yeah, an ounce of prevention is
yeah,
worth a pound of cure, right?
absolutely.
Let's go old school with that.
Absolutely.
All right. What I want to get into a little bit here, just being a consumer, I'm not in the industry of real estate. And I remember how stressful it was thinking about someone coming in the house. Money was an issue. Yeah, all these things about like who doesn't have money issues, So very stressful. And then being freaked out about somebody coming in and finding all kinds of stuff that we have to do to make these buyers happy. And so, yeah, someone like Ashley or you, Chad, saying to me, I had Brad doing it, saying, this is normal. It's all okay. Just tell me, a little bit. Let's start with you, Ashley. Like when you really see how someone is just not getting it, that this is all part of the process, and how you kind of get them to where they're okay with it.
So I actually made a whole pamphlet that I can send to you if you want to upload.
Ooh, yes.
There are some fantastic agents out there. Brad is one of them. Fantastic. There are also some agents that don't talk to their clients as much. I have had to personally explain due diligence to clients that call that say, I just put an offer in, we're going to go under contract. And I'm like, okay, when's your due diligence up so we can make sure she was like, what's a due diligence? And I'm like, well, it's the time where you do all your inspections. Do you know when your date is? And they had no clue. They even put money down for due diligence. They had no idea.
Unbelievable.
So I made a little pamphlet about it, and it shows that we do all the inspections during the due diligence period, what's included in a home inspection, when you would get all the reports back. I also listed, do you have city water and sewer? These are the things you need to look at. Does your home have a septic tank? Think about adding a septic inspection and pump. Does your home have a well? Look at a water quality test and a well inspection. And then I have our prices for all of those. And then on our last page, I even have a checklist. You're under contract. You choose Pisgah Home Inspections. You text us at 828-242-8515. You can call or text, and that goes directly to me. Or you can schedule online at our website, pisgahhomeinspections.com, and then take a deep breath because you're in good hands. I have spent over 45 minutes on the phone with some clients because they will say, when we were walking through the home, we saw this crack on this wall and we saw this on the roof, and you just know they're freaking out. And I tend to text and touch those clients a little more than usual. I let them know, hey, your inspection's done. Your inspector's working on the report. He said everything looked good, just a few minor things. And just getting that text after the inspection to someone who is freaking out and doesn't want to wait 24 hours to see if they couldn't make it to the inspection. I think little things like that, and just communication helps out in a lot of the stressful areas, because people tend to be most stressful when they don't know what's going on.
Yes, exactly. That loss of control. And then you add money on top of it, whether you have a ton or you don't, you're still going to be stressed because you're going to be signing up for a mortgage. So that is hugely stressful. Yeah, that I love that. And I remember, Chad, you were so calm. You were like, well, I would look at that, but yeah, no. I mean, you didn't tell me anything that freaked me out, and it could have had it been delivered differently. So it's all about your own internal, like, are you balanced right now when you're delivering this information? Yeah, people have to think about that when you're working in a service industry, about, well, where are you? Because whatever's going on inside you is going to make its way out to that other person. And so staying calm. And that's what I loved about working with Brad. I was
chicken little types, the real estate industry don't mesh very well.
No.
Right.
Yeah, I love that. Chicken little types. The sky is fine. My roof is falling. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes it is, but yeah.
Yes, sometimes it is. Well, thank you both for coming on, and thank you for offering. We'll upload that document, Ashley, that you created, because that's perfect. I mean, I don't know that I would have read it without somebody saying, you need to read this, because it's such a blur. And so I love how you put it, that you take it, here we go. This is what we got on this paper. Look at this, look at this, look at this, because you're so stressed. You're not even thinking straight half the time. So,
and you're getting a million emails from a million different people.
Right. Exactly.
In a very short amount of time.
And in their own stress situation. I mean, Brad and I dealt with a major mortgage lender firing half their people in the middle of it, and us switching.
Yeah, our loan officer got fired.
Yeah, and
right after she took your application. Yeah,
exactly. And we had a realtor where the realtor that the seller's agent died during the process.
Yeah, the property that they wound up buying, the listing agent passed away right in the middle of the deal, unexpectedly.
Yeah.
It was one of those situations where everything went sideways, and yet we had calm and peace because of you guys and because of Brad. So
that's good to hear.
I want to stress how important it is to pick the right people to work with on these kind of things. So thank you guys so much for coming on. And one last time, share with our listeners one more time where they can find out more about you all.
You can check us out on our website at pisgahhomeinspections.com, or you can call or text me, Ashley, at 828-242-8515.
Awesome. Brad, you go ahead and say a goodbye, and then I'll close.
Yeah, thanks, guys. You guys are both the best. As always, it's a pleasure to speak with you. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you, Brad.
Thanks for having us, Brad.
Thanks for having us.
Talk to you soon.
All right.